Boys, Josefsky here, coming to you from the mean streets of Skopje, North Macedonia. And I just want to talk briefly about recovery from cold approach sessions, from socializing in general. Cold approach is an extreme form of socializing, daytime cold approach. But the things I'm going to talk about here would apply to just general socializing. Let's say, you go to a couple of parties of the weekend, you're out Friday and Saturday, and then maybe even Sunday as well, if you're anything like I used to be. So we need to talk a little bit about recovery. And also I'll cover introversion versus extroversion, because it's actually quite an interesting topic. There are some real scientific findings in relation to this. So first of all, let's just talk about recovery. I'm on Tuesday now, and I did 2 approach sessions at the weekend. Actually, and I did 3 if I include winging my friend in a different country. But I did 2 in person. And I certainly find up to about Wednesday, Thursday, I feel slightly depleted, satisfied but depleted, because it can be quite an output at times. I mean, on the Saturday I rolled into that mall, which, as I said in the previous video, I couldn't really approach in that mall 2 years ago, and I just rolled in, did 6 approaches, 1 warm-up and 1 post. There's 8 approaches in total. That's quite an energetic output. You go over and kind of making your play, and actually even just being out in public, in a new country, even that is a little bit of an energetic output. And then on Sunday my sets lasted about, between them I would say lasted probably over an hour, just 2 sets. So there's quite a lot of output. There's more of an output in that than there is, just going for coffee with a mate, because your mate's already familiar with you. You're kind of chill. You don't have to manage the interaction in any kind of way. So I definitely find, taking some time at the beginning of the week. Monday I had some time in the morning and I just read for about 90 minutes. Chill activities, calm activities, because we've all got work to do, we've all got other things to do aside from approach. So taking some time out, I think is really good. Having some time to yourself as well is very important. Just to piggyback on the point of energy expenditure, the less energy you expend in your approach, and the more fun they are, the more sustainable it's going to be. If you're going out and it's life and death every Saturday, you've really got to push yourself in a militant fashion, solo, and I know because I've done this, you will hit a wall. I don't care how determined you are. At some point, I'm very determined, but at some point, everyone hits a wall. Every guy in the entourage, I think, has pretty much found the same thing. And it's a lot of very determined guys, but at a certain point, you hit a wall. So what you actually want to do, this is what Christian calls integration, is you want to make it as low energy as possible. So you go out with a mate, let's do a little session, let's just do 5 approaches. It'll be fun, it'll be absolutely fun. And generally it is. But even if you're solo, you still want to make it let's run across here, as little of an output as possible. Maximum results for little output. And that's not because you're lazy, that's because we want it to be sustainable. So some things you can do solo. I do find warming up is great. I also find having kind of rest and recuperation points as well. Let's say in the mall, a cafe that I go to every time on my break from the sets, things like that. Just make it as easy as possible. Make it as easy for yourself as possible. And I think also just mentally as well, the idea that the rep is the reward, that is so true in daytime approach. It's so true in daytime approach. So don't worry about the results will come. You see my video from last weekend, I went out on Saturday, I did 6 approaches on Saturday, I didn't get any numbers or contacts. On Sunday I did 2 approaches, I got 4 contacts. So it's just the nature of things. There's ups and downs, just don't worry about it. And I was actually much more happy with my Saturday session, with my Sunday session, much more happy. The last thing I'll say as well, interesting topic here. So we talked about the importance of recovery. You know yourself, like what you can do. You know what you need to do to recover. Some people need more than others. I actually think I need a fair amount. The last thing I'll say is, before I get eaten by these stray Balkanoid dogs, you can see them there. The last thing I'll say is, you can still approach when you're in that, in your R&R phase. Oh, for fuck's sake. This is the one thing. These guys plagued me in North Macedonia previously. You can still approach when you're in that R&R phase. You actually can. Oh my God, that's like a fucking wolf. Jesus Christ. I know, there's a few more. Okay, boys, it's your turf, I get it. I'm leaving. The last thing I'll say is, you can still approach while you're in that rest and recuperation phase. Absolutely you can. I've done that a lot, but what I won't do is I won't do a session. I won't try and do 10. I'll do maximum 3, and most likely just 1. Most likely just 1 or 2. It's what I did very successfully last year. I go out Saturday and Sunday for about a calendar month, and I'd be knackered probably Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night, but I just roll out and do 1 approach. And those were the ones that went best, because I was knackered. I truly didn't care, but I also had a ton of, there's an intangible kind of social flow that you're in after a couple of days of approach. And if you can just do 1 approach, actually you might have some hit singles. That's when I that's when I met the best girls, on Monday and Tuesday nights last year. But I was only doing 1 approach on those nights, and because it was good weather and stuff, I could, it was amenable. In some countries it isn't. So the last thing I'll talk about on this video, I'll keep it short, is introversion versus extroversion. Is this a thing? Do you need to worry if you're an introvert or an extrovert? There is actually some evidence on this. So they've done some scale studies. What they found is introverts are often processing quite a lot in the environment, and need a little bit more recovery time. So an introvert gets a lot of sustenance from spending time alone. An extrovert has the opposite. They're actually needing stimulus. They're needing to be around people. Their default setting is kind of it's kind of low stimulus, so they need stimulus. Whereas an introvert, there's almost like an ongoing kind of stimulation, and so for them to actually chill out a little bit, not being with people is really, really good for introverts. Most people are on a spectrum. We are both extroverted and introverted. There's the concept of the ambivert. And I think it's about knowing where you are, being honest with yourself. I would say I'm an ambivert, to be honest, with a little bit actually. You might not believe it, given I'm on YouTube and I'm going out doing cold approach. I've been a bloody club promoter. I would say I'm actually more introverted. I'm a social introvert, if that makes any sense, because I get my recovery very often from just being solo. Doing some reading, maybe going to train, maybe just doing some kind of low stimulation things. That's how I can get my recovery in. So yeah, that's an interesting thing to think about. We've all got to balance ourselves. If you're a hyper extrovert, to be honest, one of your problems with approach might be, I think sometimes extroverts can get carried away and they can kind of almost lose the discipline, almost just go off the scale a little bit. And life can just become a bit of a wreck. These like very extroverted people, the ones I know, yeah, they do great with women, but they can sometimes struggle with things like discipline. So we all have to balance ourselves. So yeah, we've covered recovery there, we've covered introversion, extroversion. I've shown you a few stray gypsy dogs here in Skopje, and hopefully that's been useful. Maybe it has, maybe it hasn't. I'm Joseph. This is Organic Attraction. On this channel, I talk about relationships, I talk about approach, really specifically with a view to men over the age of 30, over the age of 35, who are looking to probably looking for a second chance, you know, maybe a first chance in some cases, but probably looking for a second chance. They had a relationship, you had a girlfriend, maybe you got a child, and things went fucking sideways. And now you're out there going, what the hell do I do now? What the hell do I do now? The reason I do feel qualified to comment on this and offer perspectives, not advice, perspectives. The reason I feel qualified to comment is I've done all the approach, you know, as a man in his 30s. I've done nighttime approach, I've been a club promoter, I've done daytime approach now for the last 2 years, and I've reinvented my life in multiple different countries. At the moment I do it every 2 months, so I know what the process is, right? I know what the process is, and I'll be demoing that in these videos as well a little bit. I'm just showing how I integrate into a new country. I'm in North Macedonia now, I'll be here for a couple months, but you can apply these principles in your own life. So yeah, we'll leave things there. Joseski out.